tell you, Spoon Talk Business is right here, of course, as usual, every Friday at about this time in Liberia and at about that time on your end. Wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are, I'd like to welcome you to Spoon Talk Business. This is your business forum, your business talk show. To provide consultants to market your products. Whatever products, whatever it is that you're advertising or selling, or you need to introduce to sell them right. Everybody is welcome. Today we have a group from the Carter Center. We're going to be talking health talk. Where it concerns our health issues. Of course, we have Mr. Julius Gangawolo. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. He is the Mental Health and TB Project Coordinator at Carter Center, Liberia. Most of them are going to be coming through. We also have Mr. J. Mark Baldwin, the Deputy Program Lead at Carter Center, Liberia. And we have Mr. J. That's Mr. Rufus G. Say, Program Manager at the National TB Control Program, Liberia. Dr. Dorothy Collins, the County Health Officer, and many more others. I have Dr. Francine Richardson. Of course, she is a host, one of our hosts. The other host is not yet ready, but she's going to come through. That is CEO Titi Kane. And so if you are there, we'd like to welcome you. Let me bring Dr. Richardson through. Dr. Richardson, good evening from Liberia.
Yes, Lorena and Liberians that are listening, I'd just like to say hello and join Lorena in telling you that this is Spoon Talk Business. This is the place where we come to support the public sector of our country. We ask that whatever you're trying to advertise, promote, this is the place to be. This is where we talk about advertising your business on Spoon Talk and all of the Spoon platforms, by the way, when you join us. So come on and share the show. If you haven't done that yet, please share the show. Join us, and we're going to have a marvelous discussion today. My name is Francine Chenoweth Richardson, joining you from the diaspora.
Welcome, Doctor. How is it going there? How's everything?
It's good. I'm a little tired today. I went back to teaching. So today I had, usually on Thursday, I have two classes, 4:20 to 7:20 to 10 o'clock. And then so I just was tired today, so I overslept. I just been sleeping, and this is my first activity for the day. But I'm doing well. How are you doing? How's Liberia? Is it still rainy or?
Yeah, it's raining. It will rain today, and tomorrow sun will shine. So we are welcoming the dry season quietly.
Okay. So
when dry season is coming, we kind of worried because once it is dry season, then we start to have LEC problem.
Oh.
Yeah. But our guests we have two of our guests already seated in studio, and we are going to be talking to them. They are from the Carter Center Doc. You are a doctor. You're going to be talking to some health practitioners today. They have to tell us about the project when it comes to mental health and all of those issues that they want to talk about, and that is why they are here. They are going to be talking to us for an hour here. And, yes, for 1 hour. And Madam Titi Kane had to be at some removal of family member body from the funeral home, but she says she's going to come and she's going to log in.
Okay.
And so it's just you and your guests, and I'm here to also chip in if you need me to. But they come from the Carter Center, Liberia.
All right. Awesome. Great. I'm happy to be here today. So let's bring our guests on and have this conversation. And again, if you're just joining us, please just share the show. We're here. And I'm sure you'll be doing that in the background as well. I want to welcome you, Mr. Julius Gaula. I hope I say that again.
Nangangolo.
Oh, Nanganguro. Okay.
Speaking Pele, Pele will also want to hear Pele. I think I kind of sing.
Okay. But the name is actually Ngangawla. Nangawla, yeah. It's a Pele name, you're right, but I'm from Lofa County. Yeah.
Lofa County. Okay. Yeah. So I'm happy to have you here. if you don't mind me just calling Mr. Julius for the moment until I get your name correct. I understand you guys are from the Carter Center, and I noticed and have read that the Carter Center has been doing a marvelous job in Liberia as it relates to healthcare. So can you just tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Carter Center and some of what you're doing?
She's talking to you. So she's asking you. Thank you, Dr. Richardson, and I'm glad to interact with you on this platform. I've been following you quite a long period of time now. But before I go into the discussion, let me also say, but I'm not seeing Dr. Zia. Dr. Zia. We'll put Dr. Zia through. Thank you. So, yes, I happen to be the project officer, as you may say, for the Carter Center TB and Mental Health Integration Project. And the project is actually done in partnership with the Ministry of Health. So it is the Ministry of Health actually that is driving this project. And we are only playing the coordination role and working with them to make sure that our people get better services or quality services. And we do this by bringing the Carter Center's approach, expertise into the care for people with TB, and that is the mental health
You muted yourself, Mr. J. Mr. Julius, you muted yourself. Yeah, you were saying something. He just got muted automatically.
Okay, so yes, I was saying, so we are only bringing the Carter Center's long years of experience, in the mental health sector
Uh-huh.
to make sure that we improve care for persons living with or suffering from tuberculosis. And this is
Mhm.
why we are into this partnership together with the Ministry of Health.
That's
Thank you.
good. That's awesome. It's good to hear. The health sector in Liberia is concerning to many of us because good health makes for a good quality of life, makes for a productive life. So tell me a little bit about the tuberculosis. Some people call it short TB. Some of the plans that you guys have as you work with this population. I think I heard you say the TB population, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, okay, so tuberculosis is an airborne disease.
Yes.
And of,
Yeah.
and of course, there's no boundary, no checkpoint for it. And anybody can fall prey to this disease.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's transmitted or it's passed from one infected person to another through coughing.
Mm-hmm.
If the person doesn't cover the mouth, the nose,
Mm-hmm.
and they are coughing in an open area,
Mm-hmm.
and they have people around them, if the person is sneezing, uh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they don't, and they didn't also cover the mouth and the nose, and that's how people come in contact with it, especially considering the length of stay with that person and the ventilation also of that particular setting. There are a lot of other factors that will predispose somebody to contracting the tuberculosis or the bacillus, the TB
Mm-hmm.
bacillus.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
So, how are you managing working with this population and containing the spread of TB in Liberia? I know you have always, I think, as I can remember as a child, there's always been a TB center in
Yeah.
Liberia. I remember, way back before Liberia got so developed, it was a TV center. Like it seems in the single belt area, going all the way by. I think the new healthcare center was behind that building. That's where they kind of the clients. I think that's where most of the TV clients were. So how you guys continue this spread of TV in Liberia?
And so we actually the ministry will say a lot on this.
Okay,
That is the TB program manager is a part of this the talk show tonight. I hope we can link him,
okay,
share the link with him. But
okay.
I'm going to tell you some other approaches. I mean, some
So you unmuted. Mr. J. Julius Gangawula is muted. If you're just joining us, I want to just tell you thank you for joining us. Roberta Richards from Louisiana, Kentucky. Honorable S. Tummlefield, he's watching us as well. Jamala Johnson watching us. Salomon Kiluchi is watching us. I'm asking you to just share the show for us. Paul Kelly, C. Juras Trukonbia is also joining us. I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, you can post your questions for our guests as we proceed with the show. Mr. Julia, can you hear me? Can you speak now? Let me see if I can hear you muted. Okay, there you
I'm
go.
hearing you. I think there's a little technical problem that the team is trying to work on. So
Okay, all right. Okay, good. So today on the show we have Mr. Julius uh, Gangaula. Please don't allow me to mispronounce his name, but I'm doing the best here. He is the project officer that works with mental health and people with TB in Liberia. So we're going to be discussing healthcare. How are we working with some of our healthcare concerns in Liberia, namely mental health? We haven't even addressed that. We've just basically have talked about the TB basically in Liberia. He explained to us that it's an airborne disease in the country. It's contagious basically by just someone coughing in the air, and so this is why they are very very attentive to that matter. As you probably can remember, since I was a child, we always had the fear of TB in the country. And one of the things that I know when you come to the developed world, they do test you for TB. They can even give you the skin test. And usually, if that for us who had early vaccinations in Liberia, I don't remember the type of vaccination, it usually turns a positive, but it turns out to be a false positive because once we are positive here, I had this experience. We then are asked to go get an X-ray, and then the X-ray does show up to be false positive because your X-ray is usually cleared. So that's the result of taking somebody said the BCG shots. When you take that in Liberia as a kid, because there was a time when many of us had to take that, and then once you get to other parts of the world, you get checked for TB. And you didn't turn out to be positive. So Mr. Julius is here today to tell us a little bit about that population, even though he tells us that they have learned from the Carter Center in terms of how they're going to approach working with this population, the population that suffer from TB. But the health system, that they're in partnership with the health system in Liberia, they're going to be able to tell us more as we talk today. Are you guys ready in the back there? You can just give me the thumbs up.
Yeah, Dr. Julius or Mr. Julius could just be telling us about his side, what would log his friend in. He also told us about others that were coming. He just didn't see the link. It was sent to him. He was to send it to all of those who were to come in.
No worries.
He has the numbers, but we are still working on another doctor to come through. He's going to come through. So at the same time, we expect Mr. James Nawangwala to, just be communicating to us his side, his work, and what is his job all about until his colleagues can come through.
Definitely. So we're having a discussion, Mr. Julius, if you don't mind. We can't hear you.
Yeah, go ahead, talk.
yeah, okay.
Just talking to the microphone, sir.
Yes. So I mean, you're telling me that you are the project officer.
Yeah.
Uh, what are some of the objectives of your work? What are some of the goals? What are your outcomes of your work as it relates to TB and mental health in Liberia?
All right. So thank you once again. So over the years, if I in the first place, TB is one of the oldest known diseases the world over.
Mm,
As old as the 1800
mhm,
when this bacillus was discovered.
mhm. I'm also going to want to welcome Dr. Moses Zia. Thank you for joining us. We are having a discussion on just health in Liberia. It's good that you guys are here. We have Liberians that are all over the world that are listening to us right now. It will be, most will be happy to learn how you guys are helping support the decrease of the spread of TB and other illnesses in Liberia. So this is a wonderful, wonderful conversation. We're glad to have you here. So Mr. Gangaula, please excuse me for pronouncing your name. Um, So you're definitely telling us that TB is one of the oldest diseases in the world, the oldest illness in the world. You already educated us into it. It's very contagious. And so this is one of the reasons why you guys are making sure that you have contained it in the country, in Liberia. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Moses Zia, I'm just going to turn my attention to you. Can you tell us your role in this, in our healthcare conversation? What you do with the organization?
Good afternoon.
I'm
My
sorry,
name is
Dr. Moses.
Dr.
Yeah.
Zia. I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm currently the Director of Mental Health at the Ministry of Health. As Ministry of Health, we work with a lot of partners, of course, to implement interventions, healthcare interventions across the country. So one of the partners we work with is Carter Center, which has had a presence here for about 15 years, supporting mental health activities. So this intervention, this current project called the TB Reach Project, is a project intended to integrate TB and mental health services. So, like Julia said, the Ministry of Health is the owner of this program, so to speak, but Carter Center is sponsoring it. So the two programs at the Ministry of Health, including the National TB and Leprosy Control Program and the Mental Health Unit, are directly involved in the implementation of this project.
Mhm. Yes. So, as your role is a psychiatrist, which is quite impressive, um, can you tell us in maybe ways in which TB might affect someone's mental health that led to the development of, this program that you're working with, TB and mental health? Uh-huh.
Yeah, sure. We know that there's a complex relationship that's bi-directional.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that people with tuberculosis
Mm-hmm.
at increased risk of mental health conditions, and also people with some mental health conditions may be at increased risk of tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at tuberculosis, first of all, we know that this is an infectious disease that is characterized by symptoms, oftentimes that are stigmatized by people. So we know that people with tuberculosis usually they cough a lot, and just coughing in the midst of other people can be a point of stigma. People will always want you to be put aside. You don't belong in the pool, you don't belong among other people because you're coughing. And of course, people understand that tuberculosis can be contagious, or it is contagious. So people fear that your proximity with them could get them infected. So they will practically put you away, and
Mm-hmm.
we know what isolation does, to people's mental well-being. So that's one example. We also know that people with tuberculosis eventually have weight loss, which can then make someone's appearance to be odd, not what they want, of course, which can be something that makes them shy, or make them also hesitant to associate with other people, which now can lead to isolation, which can also predispose to mental distress. We know that tuberculosis itself as a disease is characterized by um, symptoms including anxiety, depressive symptoms, all those symptoms that when people are ill, they can have. Some of them are mental health symptoms. So there's a direct relationship there. We also see that some of the medications that are used to treat people with tuberculosis can, you know, lead to side effects that present symptoms of mental illness, including that of psychosis and so forth. So that's an example of how tuberculosis can manifest symptom or can lead to someone having symptoms of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we look the other way, people with mental illness, depending on the kind of mental illness, can they may lack the ability to avoid being infected. So let's imagine someone who maybe has psychosis, which is, by the way, a serious mental health condition, and this person maybe is friend or is close to someone who has tuberculosis, but this person may not be able to comprehend and be able to prevent himself from getting tuberculosis, because there's a way you're supposed to interact with someone who has tuberculosis so that you yourself cannot get tuberculosis even if you dwell in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
Some people with severe mental illnesses may not have this ability, so that is increasing the risk. But the most common aspect of mental health that is directly linked to tuberculosis is
Mm-hmm.
the case of people who use or who abuse psychoactive substances. So people with substance use disorders, we see that there's a lot of complex interaction there. But these people, with time, their nutrition gets affected. You see them in the street. All they want to do is to get their next dose of drug and take it. So they're not having proper nutrition. A lot of them are staying in ghettos, all these drug hubs, where they are in dense population. They're clustered and they're in a tiny space, all of them. And so you see that on top of the fact that their nutrition is not so good, predisposing them to malnutrition, that automatically increases the risk of developing diseases like tuberculosis, because we know that there's a complex interplay between tuberculosis, malnutrition, and even HIV. And the common link there is because of decreased immunity. And when people's immunity is decreased, there's high risk of contracting tuberculosis. So you imagine if there are a group of substance users dwelling in a tight space like they do, and one or two has tuberculosis, and you see all of them in a tiny space, they practically, breathe into each other's nostrils, so to speak, and this increases their risk. All right. And so these are just examples of how the interaction is really clear, is existent. And if you are able to intervene other ways, you can reduce the risk of, out of the diseases.
Thank
So
you.
this is why we think the integration is very key.
Definitely. Lorena just informed me that we have a video to play that will
Audio.
audio to play. So I just want to welcome our audience again. Welcome Lee Johnson. Welcome Chametta Doppler. Welcome Roberta Riches Freeman. Zian Bozizi. Welcome Rose Poyenknet. Rose is an avid follower. Um, we're very thankful. Please share the show. We're talking about some of our health issues, health concerns in Liberia, and how we have experience and good professionals that are addressing the tuberculosis and mental health issues in our country. So, we know the world is so small these days. We are traveling in and out. So it's good news. If you just joined us this week, I'm so happy to know that we have these professionals working at these different issues in Liberia. So we'll just go to you, Lorena. You take care of the commercial, and then I will take a break and come back.
Okay, Doc. So I'm going to take that short commercial break right now from group, and after that, we can just get back to the host and the guests.
Mm-hmm.
Our help, our life is the noise to make it better.
Mama, what happened to you? You coughing like that and you just looking sad.
My sister, I've been coughing, not eating, sweating plenty in the night. Look at her getting dry. I don't even know what to do, sir. I just feeling bad, ashamed to go among people, sir.
Tama, sorry, but you went to the clinic?
I'm thinking about it. But I don't know if they will look at me sad.
Tama, let me tell you something. The same thing used to happen to me. Yeah, but my husband encouraged me, and when we meet to the clinic, yeah, after the doctor people finished checking me and doing my test, they told me I was having TB.
Huh?
She gave me medicine and told me I will take treatment for 6 months.
Yeah. Whole 6 months?
Yes, Sama. The doctor people say to get fully cured, you must take the medicine for 6 months. No medicine day inside it.
So that all they did for you?
No, the doctor also told me that sometimes I will feel down or sad or even scared the way you're looking now to go around people, which is also a sign of mental health problem. Yo, the doctor checked me and advised me to always take my medicine and continue to go around my family and my friends. Then I'm gonna eat good, I'm gonna sleep good, and I will get well quick.
My sister Kulu, you did that one, sir?
Yo, I follow everything the doctor people told me. And you see me today? Look at my body. Since they gave me the TB treatment, I am now well in the body and doing normal hustle. So for the reason, I want for you to go to the hospital so they can check you and see what is happening to you. If that TB, they will treat you and also check you. And if you feeling down, the way you're looking now, the doctor people then will counsel you so you can be well and go back to do your small business.
Oh, Kolu, I hear all the good things, boy, and I get money, sir.
Look at the mayor, all the treatment for TB, or even if you feeling down, or you now won't go around people, the doctor they say no money beneath inside it. You will not pay 5 cents.
Thank you, Kolu, for this good advice. I'm going right now to the hospital so they can check me, give me treatment, and look after me so I can be okay and go back to do my business.
And that's what everybody should do. If you see you just coughing for 2 weeks or more, you sweating plenty in the neck, your body getting dry, you feeling sad, or you don't want to go around people, or you don't want to do anything, go to the clinic or hospital quick, so the doctor people can check you. TB can be cured and mental health can be managed. Services are available, safe and free.
Our life is the noise.
A message from the Ministry of Health with support from the Stop TB Partnership through the United Nations Office for Project Services and implemented by the Carter Center.
Noise to make it better. Let's work together. Our health, our life is the noise to make it better.
My people, your hello. My name is Tama. I am a TB survivor. Certain time came, I used to cough plenty, and I also started sweating plenty in the neck, and I was not eating good. I started to get dry, and I was ashamed to go around people. I started worrying plenty, and I always used to be by myself. But one day, my friend Kolu saw me and talked to me, and she encouraged me for me to go to the hospital for my checkup. I listened to her, and I went to the hospital right near me. The time when I go to the hospital, the doctor people then tell me, say, I'm going to do my TB test. After I do my TB test, the doctor people then call me and they talk to me and they told me that I was having TB. Myself too, I felt bad. So the doctor saw the way how I was looking. So he decided to ask me few questions about the way I was feeling and the way I was thinking. The doctor also tell me, say sometimes when people are tested for TB and their results are positive, they will feel down and feel sad, or even they can get scared to go around people. And he said, I want them to and not good for your health. So anybody who they check that get TB, that person will be checked to see if they get mental health problem. At the same time, the doctor tell me, say I will be taking the medicine for 6 months and I should not miss one day. And I will always come back to the hospital for me to get all my medicine again. My people, I already follow all the advice the doctor people didn't give me. And today, I am feeling well in my body. And I finish going back to my small little business and taking care of my family again. And I pay 5 cents, $5 out to anybody for my medicine. So to anybody that hearing me, please, if you see that your family member or any of your friend, that person coughing plenty for 2 weeks or more than 2 weeks, that person sweating plenty in the neck, or that person body getting dry, or that person feeling sad, or they don't want to go around people or to do anything, please carry that person or encourage them to go to the nearby clinic or hospital quick, so that the doctor people then can check them. You must go to the clinic or hospital quick. TB can be cured and mental health can be also managed.
Let's work together.
A message from the Ministry of Health with support from the Stop TB Partnership through the United Nations Office for Project Services and implemented by the Carter Center.
All right, Doc. So we are back. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, it's great to have the project manager for the TB and mental health project, and also Dr. Moses Zia. They are both here to explain the work that they are doing with people who are diagnosed with TB and mental health symptoms in Liberia. This is what a wonderful conversation we're having. Please share the show if you just joined us. As you probably know, we all travel back and forth. You know, people are inside and outside of Liberia. Liberia citizens are also, living within Liberia, and so this is an important conversation to have. So now that we have established, the relationship between mental health and TB, and the great work you guys are doing with this population, can you guys explain to us what when you are diagnosed with TB? We know that it's curable. So how do you guys work with patients? What are some of the things that patients should expect?
So we have various steps that the patient will go through. But the first thing we want to make sure through this project is to make sure that people who suffer from tuberculosis, people who suffer from this disease should not feel stigmatized. This is a condition that anybody can get. There's no boundary for it, like I said. I mean, why should somebody be stigmatized for something that is contracted through air? You do not have control on it. You don't see it. Okay. Yes. So once you feel there are signs that when you experience, you should be able to get quickly to the facility, to one of the health facilities, so they can check you and make sure that it's not TB. If it's something that is TB, then it's easy for you to be managed. The treatment is free of charge. There's no cash, nothing. In fact, through this project, we have also partnered with another community-based organization called the Cultivation for Users Hope, CFUH, that we are passing some funding through them, and they are also able to provide something we call peer support. That peer support will be able to enable some of the clients who are not able to pay their way to go to the health facility, right, to go to the clinic or to the hospital, I'll put it that way. So at least some support can pass through that entity and to go to the client. That will be able to help them get to the facility. So once you are diagnosed of TB, the first thing is to accept the condition, and the clinicians are already trained. We have built the capacity of the clinician through the project. Even before the project, Ministry of Health got facilities across Liberia. Monterey County has been blessed. We have something around 23. Through this project, we have scaled that up to 46 facilities now in Monterey County that are trained staff that are able to manage the cases. So once you get there, they will explain to you your condition, and they will tell you will take treatment for a period of 6 months. And through the period of 6 months, you don't have to be hospitalized. You can be in a laying down somewhere. They teach you and they give you their medication, and they tell you when to take it. Take for instance, if you to take it in the morning hour, you take it in the morning hour, right after your prayer, your morning prayer, you take your morning dose, and you are going to work, or you go to wherever you're going. And you come back the next in the evening, you are taking it in the morning, in the evening, whatever way the doctor will show you how to take it, you take your medication and you are gone. And you take your treatment, and throughout your treatment, we will keep checking you for signs of mental illness. Because along the way, you could feel stigmatized, maybe by the community, by the family, through the work, at the workplace, or maybe self-stigmatized. And through that, you develop, some mental illness, or like Dr. Zia was talking about depression, for example, which is one of the commonest that we found, that we are, documenting with persons with TB. They go into depression, and it can be sometimes severe. Some are moderately severe, and some are severe. Some are mild that we can easily manage, and so forth. So when clinicians diagnose you as developing mental illness, then they have to bring in a mental health component. I'll treat you by providing psychosocial counseling for you. If you have gone if that person is beyond that stage, they got to manage you using medication.
Okay.
So there are different ways that the
Yeah.
patients are and they can
Thank
be
you.
cured.
Thank you. And so for our audience that are listening, I just hear you say that you no longer have to stay away from your family. You can, go back home. Um, are are there a specific time frame where you are no longer contagious, where you'll be able to stay in the population?
Exactly. So when the patient is carrying the TB,
Mm-hmm.
bacilli,
Mm-hmm.
and they are not on treatment,
Mm-hmm.
they are in the community, they are contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we're talking about the one in the lungs, right? Because there are two types of TB. The one in the lung that we call the pulmonary TB. They
Mm-hmm.
are so that we get in the bone, like the spine, the one we call, or hunchback and things like that. Those patients will not be able to cough. But the ones that are coughing,
Yeah.
right? Like at
Yeah.
the in the lungs that are coughing,
Mm-hmm.
if they are not on treatment, they are contagious. They are hard, they can spread it.
Yes.
But the ones that are on treatment, that are placed on treatment, just 2 weeks after treatment,
Mm-hmm.
just 2 weeks after treatment, the intensive phase, they are no longer infectious. They
Yes.
can no longer pass the person, onto another person. They will
Yeah.
only continue treatment up to the end of the treatment assessment.
This is
So
good. So if you're listening to us, yes, we're glad that you're here. Get treatment. When you start to feel symptoms, get assessed and get treatment. TB is curable. Somebody asked us, and Rose actually pointed asked about the confidentiality of patients' record in Liberia, considering um, the prevalence of lack of trust in Liberia. That's what I'm just um, paraphrasing what she's saying here. So, how do you guys respect confidentiality with patients who are already stigmatized because they have TB?
So, the Ministry of Health runs a public health system, and this public health system is guided by regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, everyone who is practicing medicine from any category of the profession, you ought to imbue in you your ethical principles, which we expect.
Mm-hmm.
And so before you start to practice medicine, there are regulatory bodies and licensing bodies that were established that you have the requisite qualification and expertise to practice. And that expertise includes ethical competencies as well. So everyone who's practicing medicine like we are expected, everyone is expected to have that confidentiality, as part of their key competencies. So we know that it's still not perfect. So the Ministry of Health running a public health system ensures that all the other regulatory bodies are doing their work. And so, for example, the Liberia Medical and Dental Council is responsible, to license doctors and some other, professionals. The Liberia Nursing and Midwifery Board doing the same. So all the people who are practicing are expected to have that competency.
So,
So in the hospital setting, the hospital administration has
mhm.
a role also to play in, making sure that people's medical records are clearly protected. So the systems are there that are supposed to work. If you see a healthcare professional, that professional is supposed to ensure that your records are kept. So when people violate, which is oftentimes the case, then regulatory bodies have to come in, you know.
Okay.
So I know that people are not supposed to share medical records, but
Yep.
there's every part of the world that people do that. But when the system is strong enough, whoever is doing wrong, you are able to penalize them, and that kind of reduces it. But as professionals involved in this project, the TB and diversity program, and all the facilities running TB services know exactly that patient records are confidential, so they're supposed to be kept. The same thing in the mental health space. Everybody who you see who has come to you for help as a professional, you're supposed to make sure that the information remains confidential. So in case there are breaches, which we know happens from time to time, the system, through regulators, are supposed to, come in. And if you are a victim, of such a thing, if your medical record got exposed, you
Mhm.
clearly have the right, to take that entity or that individual to the law, and the law should come in
So,
to solve.
so Dr. Zia, as a psychiatrist or psychologist, question here. I often get a question about, does Liberia have a mental health licensing board or uh, like regulator, as you're saying? I'm sure you're probably part of the medical staff, uh, doctor board, but do we have any kind of licensing board that would license mental health workers,
Okay.
psychologists like myself in Liberia?
Okay. This has been a question that's always come up. So for me, I'm a medical doctor, a
Correct.
specialized medical doctor. So I'm a psychiatrist.
Yes,
So I'm licensed by the Liberian Medical and Dental Council.
correct.
All right. There are people in Liberia called mental health clinicians. These are
Correct.
nurses and physician assistants
Oh,
who
okay.
receive extra training to become mental health clinicians. Those people, because they are still nurses and physician assistants, they are licensed by their respective boards.
Yes, like a
So,
nurse.
like the nurses are licensed by the nursing board, although they get a separate lesson for practicing, their mental health care. They have separate lesson, but they are licensed by those requisite bodies.
Hmm.
For psychologists, it has been a conversation. The truth is, at the moment, no, there's not any regulatory body, but one of the things I am working on as the new director of mental health is to ensure that that happens. So the preliminary conversations we've had is looking in the direction of having the Liberia Medical and Dental Council to be able to license. But these are conversations still in preliminary stages, but we believe that it's going to come really soon. Now, we should know that Liberia has for a long time had huge deficits when it comes to mental health service
Absolutely.
provision and
Yes.
service providers. So,
Mhm.
for example, for many years, we had one psychiatrist in the country,
I
Professor
know.
Benjamin Harris, for many
Yes.
years. And
Yes.
then, another consultant came, then the likes of us came along, and, we have a pool of 7 psychiatrists in country and about 3 outside who have finished their studies should be coming. So the
Awesome.
number has grown to about 10. We
Wow.
have few psychologists in country. These psychologists are not in the public space, but they are with different NGOs, and so there are a few of them. So these conversations already started, and now we're working on it to make sure we have complete licensure boards. By the way, we might look towards the Liberia Medical and Dental Council to do that.
Mhm. Good. Thank you for answering that, because I often get that question. Um, Not only from Liberians, but people outside of Liberia who would like to do mental health work in Liberia, but want to also protect that license, wherever they are. So, for example, if you are conducting an assessment or some kind of psychosocial therapy with somebody with TB, and they begin to decline in front of you, there are certain regimen as a mental health worker that I'm expected to do according to my practice, according to what I learned, and according to my ethical codes. But if Liberia does not have that regulatory body, and how do I go about being held reliable, accountable? Who holds me accountable? So those are the kind of questions that I've been getting, and they also prevent services from coming to Liberia, like doing telehealth, for example. Like,
Mhm.
if you want to do telehealth to help support you guys who are doing the assessment for tuberculosis, which I think would just work perfectly. Um, and but you working with somebody who has a license in the diaspora. So if something should happen to that person while I'm conducting telehealth, like that person begins to become increasingly depressed or psychotic, or begin to tell me that they're suicidal, where do I turn? What there's regulation, my licensure regulation tells me what to do over here, what I'm liable for. My clinical judgment tells me what to do. But in Liberia, where do I tell this person go to the nearest hospital for what help? Where's the nearest hospital, especially if you're up in one county, one mines, where I know of? Where would I send this person for suicidal help?
Okay. Okay. So like I said, the Ministry of Health has a public health system,
Mhm.
and one of the units is the mental health unit, which I head. We have service providers. Now we have some psychiatrists, but we have mainly mental health clinicians who have been working for a very long time across the country. They were up to over 350 of them trained by the Carter Center over the years, and they have been around the country. Now, where there is where there are gaps in service provision, we know the World Health Organization has been finding solution to these problems. So, for example, there's an intervention called the Mental Health Gap Action Program, which is MHGAP, wherein you train people who are non-specialists to be able to provide care to people who have mental health issues. And so what we have done in Liberia is to take that training to the level wherein regular nurses and physician assistants can receive some basic training to be able to identify common mental health conditions and
Good.
be able to intervene or to refer. So depending on what level or depending on where that person is, the healthcare system in Liberia is such that we have different levels. So now we have a community health program where people who are called community health workers are able to identify or link people who seemingly have some of these problems, mental health problem or whatever problem, to
Mhm.
care. And so these community health workers will usually link these people to the primary healthcare setting, meaning the clinics, within the communities. And those clinics are able to, their service providers there are able to intervene, like assess the situation to tell whether this is something they can manage or whether they need to refer. Now, if they need to refer, and if in that setting there is no mental health clinician, so it is only logical that you refer the person to the next available space or next available center where there's a mental health clinician. And if the mental health clinician also feels that maybe the severity of the illness is such that it should be managed by a higher level profession or professional, then of course the referral can be made. But in cases of suicide, for example, this is one of the training that we provide to everybody across. So people receiving MHGAP training, people receiving mental health clinician training, of course, psychiatrists and everybody will have to manage those acute emergencies that you have in psychiatry, and they're able to intervene until further help can be sought. So the healthcare system is not the best, but it is improving. And this is one of the aspects we are working in to make sure that services are provided at every level of the system, primary, secondary, and tertiary.
Definitely. Thanks for asking that. I'm going to go to Lorena. She has a question for you.
Yes, sir. I'm concerned as so as other Liberians concerning, mentally ill people we refer to as crazy people in Liberia. Here in Montserrat, we and them are the normal, the mentally ill, those that are dangerous, they are harmful. We all move past one another in the streets. It's not like we are separated, like, oh, they took the crazy people from the street. We and them are moving, passing one another, maybe even going to the market and shopping together. Those that are selling food in the street and others, those that are, riding their bikes and those selling the market plus those seriously mentally ill people are also, purchasing from the same place. That is how risky it is. I'm concerned. How soon would there be more rehabilitation centers built to get these people off the streets? Now we're just looking at Montserrat. Let's go to rural parts of Liberia. There are mental people there harming people. Recently in Nima County, a crazy man, as we refer to them, killed a 3-year-old child. And there was another crazy man that raped a 13-year-old girl. These things keep happening and there are no results. Nothing is coming out of them. So I just want to know how soon can people on the other side of Liberia and those here in Montserrat, how soon can we, expect to be safe from crazy people? Because we and them are moving past one another, Dr. Richardson. Here in Liberia, that's what happens here in Montserrat, and then in the rural parts, it's even worse.
Okay, thank you. Let me start by saying nobody is crazy, all right? And we don't like to hear people refer to people as being crazy.
Exactly.
That is very stigmatizing, is derogatory, and so we don't like to use that word.
Okay.
We believe that, like any other sickness, the brain can have a sickness. And when the brain gets a sickness, people behave in ways that we think or that we notice to be different from the way other people behave. So we would rather call them mentally ill people or people
Mentally
with
ill
mental
people.
health disorders. Okay. Now, and let me establish that people with mental health disorders or mental disorders are not particularly more dangerous than people who do not have mental health disorders. The evidence is there. They do not have any extra aggression compared to the general population. We think that is the case. Majority of the time, we think they are more aggressive. We think it's not safe for we and them to be in the same space, but that's not true. All the evidence has proven that they are not at increased risk of harm to other people, except doing sometimes when the state of the mental illness is in what we call acute state or they're acutely disturbed for different reasons. So we don't like to, stereotype them that generally they are aggressive or they are harmful. That is just to start with, okay? And there are two groups of people now we see in the street in Liberia. There are the people who have other mental illnesses, like those ones who maybe they wear dirty clothes, they eat in the dump site. You see them, they look really, they shiver, they look dirty. There are those people. They have other form of mental illnesses. Then there are the other people who suffer from substance use disorder, the ones our people call Zogo. We think it's a stigmatizing name too, but there are people who have substance use disorder. Those ones, yes, it has been clear that because of the nature of the illness they have, which is drug problem, they can be dangerous because depending on what state they're in, they can actually harm people in search of their drugs. So we know that. All right. So that was just the first part of your question I just wanted to address. But the second part of how soon we plan to get people off the street, um, the first thing is when people have illnesses, they have to accept treatment. They have to be willing to get treated. So it is unethical that we will bring one car and just grab all the guys from the street and say we're carrying you in rehab. That would not work. It's against human rights, so that's one aspect. We believe that the interventions we have designed at the Ministry of Health is
Mrs. Dr. Sia, can I also ask,
yes,
uh, just to add to the conversation, and your responses has been well taken. Um, so in other parts of the world, there's an assessment that is done to assess if someone can make a decision to commit themselves or voluntarily or involuntarily. So I think it's important to add that if that's the
yeah,
case,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
so there are people who perhaps might need involuntary commitment,
of course,
and there are people who might need voluntary commitment in our
mm,
country, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, so we are going to talk more about mental health, but that is very important. So when I was laying the premise that it's not because somebody has mental illness, you just grab them and carry them. I meant to say that there are existing principles and
Correct.
standards for
Yeah.
treating people. One of those is to assess whether this person is at risk, immediate risk of harming himself or others. If that
Correct.
is the case, then you can take this man involuntarily for treatment.
How
And
soon, sir?
and in fact, if that happens, it has to be for a
If there,
duration
it's
of
not only if they're risk to another person. Well, I don't know what the standard is in Liberia. You can
no,
correct
I
me.
say self or others.
Self of others,
Risks
but it's
of
also
harm to
the
self or
standard.
others.
Being harmful to
Yeah,
themselves.
to self or others, yeah.
It
Because
depends.
there is one who is wearing scissors and
But
rings and
that's
people
another
are
one. It depends on the how they are declining in their mental health. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, your level of reality, how has that declined? So there's three basic category, basically harm to yourself, harm to others, and how your decompensation in your health is occurring. So those are kind of things that people in other parts of the world look at. So
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
that's
so those
that's
principles.
very true. So speaking to that last part, just before we move towards the TV discussion that
Yes.
we're really trying
You
to
guys
have, I
really
know
have
the
to come back.
issue about mental health, once it comes out, everybody
Yeah,
already
please
have
come back. Can you make a commitment to come back? I know you paying for this time. It's
right, right.
important that
they can
because
continue on that you
Yeah.
can continue
So
on
so so they okay, just
what
before
will reach
getting
the
to the
hour.
TV part, So when you mention how soon we take people off the street, so right now there's a conversation ongoing that people who are mentally ill who are roaming the street. Right now, we've made a decision that we will gradually try to take some of them from the street and start treating them. Now, the problem, however, in Liberia is that we have a small facility called the ES Green Mental Health
Is
Hospital.
that we still
The
use the
total,
ES grant?
yes, ES Green. The total capacity is 80 beds.
Yes.
So if you move all the mentally ill people who are roaming the street, you may not even have space for all of them. And sometimes when you do that, the goal is to treat them and put them back, rehabilitate them. So it's a long haul. But right now we've decided that we will do it even in batches. So we will treat some of these people as soon as possible. The conversation already started, and once space is available, we'll do that. But here's the bigger picture of the TB Reach program. We had mentioned the relationship between TB and mental health. It's clear. One of the issues we've had in Liberia is because people are not well trained in area of mental health service provision, there has usually been a problem wherein people who are receiving treatment for TB, they don't get screened for mental health issues. So the people, the mental health clinicians who are treating this the TB clinician who are treating the person with TB is only focused on treating the TB.
Yeah.
But then oftentimes forgets that this is a whole person and
Yeah.
that there are serious psychological issues, mental health issues that are often found in people with TB.
Yes.
So that was one of the problems that we noticed.
Mhm.
Also, people who treat mentally ill people, every time they think this person may have tuberculosis, they are like, okay, you know what? This man got tuberculosis. I can't bother treating him. Let me
Mhm.
send him to the TB people. But meanwhile, if he goes to the TB people will only be concerned about treating the TB and they will forget the mental health problem. So this is the situation that led to the development of the TB Reach program. The
Great.
TB Reach program, sponsored by the Carter Center, is all about integrating services. If
Beautiful.
this man came to the mental health facility first or encounter a mental health clinician first, can this mental health clinician do a complete assessment to determine whether this man has mental health problem and also be able to determine if this man has suspected TB or so? If that is the case, what is the protocol to
Sure.
go forward to treat this man as a whole? The same thing happens if this person came through the TB program first and encounter a TB clinician, and the TB clinician, try to get a sputum and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
This clinician should be able to assess whether this person is having some mental health related issues. And
Okay.
so at the end of the day, we identify the problems, we are able to integrate the care, and we are able to improve the overall outcome of the interventions that we are having. This is the background of the TB Reach program, and it has had a phenomenal result. By the way, it started as a pilot, and in Liberia now we're doing a lot of integration.
Awesome.
Before it used to be okay. So you go to the people who have HIV, you got HIV clinicians or
Yeah.
HIV service provider. They're treating HIV. They're focused on HIV. When you go to general facilities, people are concerned about maybe non-communicable diseases. They're treating the hypertension and diabetes. They are focused on that. Now we are like, okay, mental health cuts across all these disciplines.
Absolutely.
Why don't we incorporate and integrate the services such that when this person comes to one facility,
Sure.
all his problems are identified and
Sure.
then interventions are provided. And if possible, the right linkages are made so that the person can have the best outcome. This is the basis of the Carter Center TB Reach sponsored program.
So I'm going to direct this question to Mr. Julius. This is actually a rich uh, information for Liberia. A lot of people like to know how are we managing mental health in our country. So I really would like for you guys to come back to make this conversation ongoing with the Liberian people, because a lot of people they have no idea that there are professionals like you guys that are working um, you know tirelessly behind the scene to make sure that we have a productive society. So I'm very glad to hear that you guys are doing this. My Final question. I have so many questions, definitely, because this is actually my area, my field of study. So my final question to you is somebody, definitely you made the case that you can suffer, and I mean, from mental health and tuberculosis, and of course, there's a lot of integrations that are happening. I mean, the body is not just cut up between mental health and medical health is integrated. Even in this country, we're moving away from standing alone mental health hospital to mental health hospital being included in the health hospitals, physical health hospital, because people know that instead of working in a mental health hospital and having to take a lab to a physical health hospital and then bring it back, it can be a problem. So if I'm coming to you as a tuberculosis client, a TB client, and I have depression or anxiety, probably the two most common disorders that you see, um, how do you guys treat me? Do you give me uh do you give me like some kind of psychotropic, some medication, psychotropic drugs for for my anxiety or depression, or do you do psychosocial counseling with me? And how is that done? Do I come once a week, twice a week to the center? I know this is free of charge, viewers, if you're listening.
Mhm. Yeah, so what we've done is, first of all, to identify that someone has this problem.
Mm-hmm.
So people who are non-medical or non-mental health specialists, they are not, mental health clinicians, they're not psychologists, they are not psychiatrists. You should first of all be able to identify that this person has symptoms
Mm-hmm.
of mental health, disorder. So we have taught, we've provided training
Mm-hmm.
for the TB service providers to do basic screening. All right.
I'd like
And
to just add this.
mhm,
I think so for the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what the model we designed was to uh, to approach it in this way, provide a kind of one-stop shop approach, treatment approach,
Awesome.
and that is train the TB clinicians in mental health to provide some little mental health services. Like he mentioned about the MH gap, the mental health action gap,
Mm-hmm.
that is done by the World Health Organization. So we train all of the TB clinicians in most of our county from the 46 facilities to be in the MH gap, so they are able to provide some level of minimal care for of mental illness or substance use problem. On the other side, we identify the mental health clinicians and train them in the TB case management. So if a client walks to a mental health clinician at the facility, that person is going to screen them for mental health conditions, substance use problem, as well as TB problem. And so that one patient will be managed or will be assessed for the dual conditions,
mhm.
and the clinicians are now capacitated to provide services for that one patient. So that patient doesn't move from one unit to another,
Yeah.
or from one point to another. So that's
But
how we are cutting down
mhm.
even the time for managing cases.
Yeah. But the level of care, then, the reason why I was talking about screening, the level of care is dependent on the severity of the illness for sure.
Of course.
So if somebody has mild depression, mild anxiety, you will use psychological interventions most likely. So then the clinicians can provide basic psychological interventions.
So that's a once a week, and I know we're moving to closing very soon. Is that once a week, or depending on the regimen, or maybe you would start with once a week of coming in to do counseling, psychosocial counseling, as you guys call it, and then followed by maybe drop it down to once every 2 weeks, titrate it as we like to think about it that way. But is that something that you guys will do? Just making sure.
Yeah, so there's not a fixed schedule for everyone.
Of
So
course.
that's what I'm saying. Once you screen it, you find out there's something,
Mhm.
a treatment plan is designed depending on a number of factors. But the clinicians will engage this patient as frequently as possible, especially during the initial periods. So if this person is required to be coming regularly, the clinician or the service provider will design the intervention such that every encounter, you provide the support that is needed. If there's more severe, intervention needed, and if psychotropic medication is needed, then
Okay.
of course these clinicians will consult higher, level trained individuals so that they can plan the treatment and then implement it together. And of
Okay.
course, it's
So,
individualized.
and I'm so much into this question. I have more questions, but because of time, Lorena, we're
Yeah,
too
but
sad.
before you close, I want to mention just few challenges that we are
Yes,
actually
please,
facing, and we need to flag them out.
Yeah.
please do.
Cattle Center, or through this project, we are not. There's no support for procuring drugs, psychotropic
I know.
medication,
I
and
was
this is
just
one of
going to
the
ask, what are you
challenges.
guys using?
Uh,
Phenobarbital, which is completely outdated. I
Yes,
read.
completely, and we are challenged with this, and we. So I want to use the medium actually to call on the government, and I'm happy that he's here. I mean, this has come out in most of our discussions in our steering committee meeting.
Mhm.
At the TP Annex, for example, they have a lot of patients that are actually in need of psychotropic medication. For example, I mean, patients that are actually on treatment for MDR, for multi-drug resistant, TB, they are already down with depression, severe form of depression. How can they manage the patients? Almost all the patients are people who come from very low economic background. They are not able to afford to even procure or to buy the medication.
Yeah.
And TB Annex is now in a position to take them to grant, because grant is actually a private
ABS.
semi, though they are with the John F. Kennedy hospital, but they are actually, there's a user fee there. So we are challenged at this end, and it's a serious problem. So I want to flag this out so that stakeholders that are monitoring this program, the Ministry of Health, will see reason to add psychotropic medication to to this project
Very
moving
important.
forward. Yes,
Very
it's
important.
challenging for our clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is challenging for the Ministry of Health because psychotropic medications are quite expensive
Yeah.
and they're not readily available, especially Dr. Francine, who you used to newer drugs. We know
Mm-hmm.
newer drugs are more expensive, and that's why you see we still use older drugs, though
Yes.
the efficacy remains the same. It's just side effect profile that we are worried about. So we pay a lot of attention. So it's a call, also national call, that those of you Liberians, who are out in the diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the areas we struggle with: availability of essential medications in Liberia, and even so, especially with psychotropic medication. All
Yes.
the time we try to seek donation, and once in a while we get some, but then of
Mm-hmm.
course we use it, and then we always need more. So I mean, it's good that he brought it up. This is a problem we're having as a country, and we're all looking into a solution.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Liberians. Thank you for joining us. We have Dr. Moses Zia, who is a psychiatrist, and the project manager, Mr. Julius Gangaula. He's going to not be happy with the way that I'm pronouncing his name, but they're doing an awesome job with managing TB and mental health in Liberia. There is association. When you are diagnosed with TB, you tend to lose weight and show some signs of mental health issues, anxiety, depression. Or on the flip side, if you're diagnosed with mental health issues, it's easier for you to not have your reality checked, and so you might just be passing around with your mental health disorder, spreading the TB. So they've developed a program where they can work with, both populations. If you're diagnosed with TB, they will be able to work with you. If you have mental health issues, they'll be able to work with you. So we're very glad to have them here today. They both made a serious call for all of us who are in the healthcare areas, mental health or just physical health nurses. There's a lot of psychiatric nurses that are here, but you have strong ties to Liberia. They need drugs. They need some assistance with medications. The SSRIs that are newer drugs that I keep on reading when I read it. You're still using phenobarbital is something that we don't use often here in the modern world as much anymore. But just to help support people who are inflicted with mental health and tuberculosis. So I told them they need to come back. We really need to have this conversation again. There's so much to discuss here. So I really want to thank you guys for coming. We do have to go because we're going into the news time. I hope before you leave the office today, you talk to Lorena about coming back. The more we expose the mental health, because a lot of people have this perception that we're not working on mental health in Liberia. In fact, last night I was telling Lorena, just to go over time, just 1 minute, I teach doctoral level students who are studying to be clinical psychologists, and I gave them my proposition last night to them was, how did we establish the situation where people can sleep in the graveyard? What is that? Psychopathic people, or are they sociopathic people? So those are the questions that my class was discussing about Liberia. And in the next coming week, I'm going to be doing a workshop on mental wellness with children in Bond County, where I grew up. We're going to be doing this by Zoom, and it's a series of workshops. There's 7 of us going to be producing this, that have produced this PowerPoint presentation, and we have sent out a test questionnaire to the kids. It's a Google questionnaire where we got in real time, got responses, and it was just interesting knowing the characters. The students, my students wanted to know who they were going to be working with. In this country, we have age range in terms of 3 years before you put people together. So one of the dilemma that we have, like, in Liberia, you can be 20-year in high school, right? You be 21-year in high school. So we have to make a decision. Do we keep the 25-year-old with the 15-year-old, 16-year-old? Is different. The rules are different. So in the next coming days, we'll be having such conversation. And we also learn, like, we know, like, in this country, from the time you're born, you have your own bedroom. So we asked a question, instead of, do you have your own bedroom? They want to be sensitive. And so the question of, who do you sleep with? So a lot of the children who answered that question was confused because of the cultural nature of it. So it's we realizing, that you have to be able to work in a cultural sensitive way with the world, with different people. So it's very, very interesting. But I just want to tell you guys, thank you for joining us. Those of you who are watching and listening to us, we need help in Liberia in terms of building our mental health capacity. So thank you guys, and we would love to have you back here in the studio again. Okay, thank you, Lorena.
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to say so many thanks to our
funding.
Yeah, we'd like to say so many thanks to our guests. They were here to discuss mental health issues. Okay, Doc, we know you are going to get ready now for Spoon Talk. Spoon Talk Business returns next Friday. You can come. Let's talk about your issue, your program, your seminars, workshops, entities, businesses. We are here to sell you. My name is Lorena Honorary. Good evening.